Alrighty, we have that set now. We've saved the project. We have the entire piece edited in that we've clipped it at the beginning, so we have the right opening, we have the right ending. The next step that I will go through, the next thing I'll do, and I'm shortening the process for this particular podcast, but one thing that I do is I want to get these levels adjusted using a function called Normalize. Now I had switched while I was talking here to show the entire project as it's edited now, the waveform for the entire project. I want to adjust the volume on each track individually. We're still set at stereo. So the way I change that is to open the track settings here and select a function called Split Stereo Track. And you'll notice the description here that shows up is that, well, we've got the file name, and this is the left track, and this is the right track. So each of the speakers, myself, in the case of track 1, Mark Nearboss in the case of track 2, is now on a separate track, and I'm able to make adjustments on each track individually. That's very important later on in the editing process. I can listen to each track to find out if there are problems with it, and I can also make some overall and individual adjustments. Right now I'm going to use a function called Normalize, and what that's going to do is increase or decrease, actually in this case increase, all of the levels so that it'll increase them somewhat. There are a number of effects tools in here that what I'm going to do is normalize, and what that does is adjust the level overall to what is the loudest part. I'm going to use Normalize here, and I'm just going to accept these default values. And what it's doing, watch the waveform on track 1. Notice I just selected track 1 only. Getting close to the end. It's getting darn exciting here. You'll notice that it jumped up a little bit. It went no higher than the highest point. So it raised everything. We're going to probably not see any adjustment here because looking at the waveform there are a couple of particularly loud parts here. I'm going to go ahead and normalize Mark Nearboss's track as well, and just in case there is a little room for work there. It speeds up, it slows down depending on how much data there is in a given track. And as expected, just eyeballing it here, I didn't think that there would be much adjustment. If we look at the effects tools, by the way, there are a lot of them here. The previous version of this 1.3.6 added a different nesting process, and I was delighted to see that this version brought back this long list. It's just much faster. Now, I'm working on Mac here, so we have a number of different tools that aren't going to show up in the Windows version. So that's all I wanted to do now, though, was do the normalization function. What should I do next? Better save the project. I like doing that. Now if we play the projects again, you can deselect and select out of the area here. If we play it again, we can hear the volume. Hear it.
This is Spirit and Life, the Franciscan Conferences podcast. Welcome to podcast number 43 of Spirit and Life from the Christian Outreach Office at Franciscan University of Steubenville. Through these podcasts, we invite you to get to know many of our conference speakers and staff on a more personal level and to learn more about their ministries in the church. Today's guest is Mark Nearboss. Now, if you've heard our podcast before, you know that normally...
And on and on and on and on. What I want to do, if you're listening on headphones, you've noticed that I'm on the left track, on the left side, Mark's on the right side. What I want to do is have both of us in the center. I just have us separated for editing. For the purposes of this demonstration, the editing is finished. There are other things that I do in a typical podcast. I will go in here and individually lower the volume on the tracks when a person is not speaking. But we're going to skip that step now, and I'm going to make each track mono. Let me just play this first part, and you'll hear that I should be on both channels.
This is Spirit and Life, the Franciscan Conferences podcast. Welcome.
And indeed I am.
This is Spirit and Life, the Franciscan Conferences.
If we pick a selection from Mr. Nearboss.
Really excited about the theme that the Lord has led us to for the summer of 2009.
Alrighty, he is just on the right side, going here and making that mono, picking it up from the same point.
Really excited about the theme that the Lord has led us to for the summer of 2009. It's Christ our hope.
And switching both of these to mono, I was able to make individual adjustments, and the program is as we want it. Time to save the project before I move into some of our final steps.